Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 7 all new spring Dollar Tree DIYs for you. My theme today was spring flowers, and I wanted to do a lot of like pinks and purples. So let's get crafting. For the first DIY, I wanted to see if I could turn one of the Dollar Tree wood trays into a flower cart. I thought it would be a really fun challenge, and so I'm going to use one of the new wood easel kits from the Dollar Tree for extra wood. If you can't find these little kits, you could always use Jenga blocks or other craft wood. I really like them though. Now, for the outside of my tray, I decided to take some of the medium size popsicle sticks. These are the ones from Walmart, and they're a little bit longer and wider than the ones from the Dollar Tree, and it will cover the entire side. I thought we could do like a slatted board on the side to give it just a little bit more texture and also cover the handles on the end. Now, this step is totally optional, and if I were to make it again, I don't know if I would include them because when I went to stain it, they did warp a little bit, being this thin wood, but not too bad. I just cut them down to size. I want them to be like two, like that, where they're kind of staggered to make it look like a wood crate and to slightly be taller than the tray. This would also be a good option if you can only find the ones with like the star cutouts or the heart cutouts or something like that, and you don't want to be able to see the handles at all. But the regular handles really aren't that distracting. I just kind of wanted the textured surface of the wood. So I'm just cutting those down. I'm just using scissors and hot glue. I did the ends first, and then we will do the sides. And the reason, again, I use these larger ones from Walmart is because they were as long as the tray. I don't think Dollar Tree, I know Dollar Tree has a couple sizes of popsicle sticks. I get like the small and I guess the medium. But Walmart has like these large ones, and they also have jumbo ones which are really big, which are great for crafting. So whenever I do go to Walmart, I always try to pick those up. So I cut down enough for all 4 sides. What I was thinking is that this is going to be where the flowers are on my flower cart, and I can attach legs. That's where the easel kit comes in handy. Now there's 2 pieces that are slanted that go together to make the easel, and then there's one piece that's the easel stand, and they all seem to be about the same size wood. And I thought these would be coming handy for crafting, so I keep picking these up, these little easel kits from the Dollar Tree. I just kind of estimated how long I wanted my leg to be. I don't know. I didn't really measure it. It's maybe about 3 inches. And I'm going to cut out 2. I love using my miter scissors. I got these on Amazon. I think I have them listed in my Amazon shop in the description of today's video. I probably need to get some new blades though, because the Florida humidity out in my garage is rusting those, right? And then for the tires, I'm going to use some of the wood rings from the Dollar Tree. These are the little wood craft rings. I wasn't sure what size I would need, but I decided to go with this larger one for 2 wheels. Anything round is really going to work for a wheel. If you have any like wood circles made out of craft wood, I've even used like the little shape puzzles from the toy aisle at the Dollar Tree for circles, but I thought the wood rings would be perfect. So the front legs need to be shorter. So I kind of lined it all up there to see how long I would need those legs to be to center those on my little DIY wheels. Now, this is a fun crafting find. These are actually coffee stirrers. I ordered these for my coffee bar. You get like 1,000 of them from Amazon. So I've linked these in my Amazon shop as well as a crafting supplies because they came in really handy for these. As you can see, they're little teeny tiny pieces of wood. I'm going to cut out 3 for each one. The reason I wanted these instead of like skewers from the Dollar Tree is that they're flat. So I will be able to stack these on top of each other, and they're so thin that they're not going to interfere with my design. So I take my wood ring and I just glue it on both sides with just a tiny dot of hot glue, and then I glue another one on it, forming an X, and then a third one. Since they are so thin, you can almost mold them a little bit so they'll bend slightly and they'll stack perfectly to make a little wheel in it. I think it turned out really cute. It was really easy to do. And I had bought those coffee stirrers and I don't really like them that much for coffee stirrers, but when I also had the other motive that they'd probably be a cool craft supply, and I think they are, so I'm definitely putting these in my crafting stash. I do the same thing here for a tire for the other side. And then now it's time to put our legs on our flower cart. I'm just going to attach them with hot glue. I just made sure to use my Gorilla Glue hot glue, let that set up. If you want it to be a little stronger, you could use wood glue if you wanted, but I was trying to get my flower cart made, so I used hot glue and it seems strong enough. I did put extra hot glue on the inside there where you're not really going to be able to see it to reinforce it a little bit. And then these are the shorter legs. These are the ones I cut a little bit shorter for the wheels, and I glued those on the four corners. So I'm almost building like a table at this point. Now, if you wanted to put a shelf down here, like some flower carts have shelves down there, you totally could, and it might actually reinforce your project a little bit as far as the legs go. I'm not going to put a shelf down there though. I'm just going to go ahead and attach my tires. I was trying to figure out how to do this in a way that would level it out. So I'm using just an extra piece of wood just for a straight line here to try to figure out exactly where I want my tire to be. And I just glued my little DIY wheel to the little wood. I'm going to reinforce it with a little bit more hot glue here on the back. And then I'm going to glue the other one on the other side where everything will hopefully lay level. This is what it looks like so far. I think it's really coming along. It's starting to look like a flower cart, right? I got this idea by seeing the large ones that they sell, like the real life ones on Wayfair. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to make a miniature flower cart. I think that'd be really cool. So this is another piece of that easel kit. And I'm going to cut down 2 pieces to be the sides of my sign here. Like a lot of flower carts, there's a couple different styles. They can come up and have like a roof. They can come up and have a roof with a shelf up there, or they can just come up and have a sign. So I'm going to make mine have a sign. So I cut these down the same size and I'm just gluing them on the inside of my wood tray there, one on each side, straight across from each other. And then another piece of that same easel kit for the top beam. And using this in combination with the miter scissors, huge fan for crafting. It made this really easy without having to go back and forth to my saw all the time. So I just attached that with hot glue there. And this is going to be my sign holder. So this is what my flower cart looks like so far. I did think it needed some handles to push it around. So kind of like wheelbarrow handles, right? Like you're just going to need little handles here. And so again, I'm using that same wood and I'm going to cut 2 small handles here. And I really kind of like the square of this wood from the easel kit compared to like the wood dowels from the Dollar Tree, because square can really give you a different look on projects like this. I am going to attach it with hot glue to my top popsicle stick there. And my biggest challenge with this project was like letting my glue set up because I want everything to be as strong as possible. For this sign, you just need something wood. I'm going to use a Dollar Tree wood ruler. I think it makes a great sign. Nice and big and strong. You could also use a popsicle stick as well, but I kind of wanted the thicker wood. If you had like a paint stirrer, that would be pretty equivalent. I just cut mine down to size there on the saw to make a little sign. And then I'm going to spell out the word flowers. I'm going to use the galvanized metal letters from the Dollar Tree. Be careful when you buy these. You only get about half the alphabet, I guess, there. And I haven't been able to find the wood ones lately, but these are the perfect size for this scale project. So I'm going to spell out the word flowers. I went back and forth whether I was going to leave these galvanized metal or paint them. At first, I left them galvanized metal, so you'll get to see that, but I do go back and distress them with white just to make it a little bit easier to read. My house doesn't have the best lighting, so sometimes the metal's a little kind of hard to read, especially like on a stained wood. I just use as little hot glue as possible when putting these on so I don't get a lot of that seeping out, and they fit perfectly on this size project. So there's our little flower sign. As you can see, I'm attaching everything before I stain it or paint it or anything like that. It's just going to make the wood to wood hot gluing stronger. Then to stain it, I wanted my stain to be a lighter wood stain, and so I mixed some Antique Wax by Waverly with water to make a wash. This is what caused problems with my popsicle sticks. I think it was so watery that it bowed them a tiny bit. It's not super noticeable, and it actually makes it look more rustic because I am going to distress it and make it look rustic anyway. But keep that in mind if you're going to be using like a watery wash like I am. Sometimes on a project like this where there's so many different things to paint or stain, I find a wash is easier because as you can see, it just kind of soaks it in. You don't have to get it on there just perfectly or anything like that. But I went over everything, all the legs, the wheels, the bottom of the tray, and the sides of our sign. And I really love this project. I've created so many different things with wood, miniature projects like this. And I'm always looking for a challenge or a new idea of something to make. And I just think this turned out so fun. So I got everything stained, and now we can fill it up with flowers. I don't have a lot of room, so what I'm going to do is take the floral foam from the Dollar Tree, just cut it in half. So I have one piece that's pretty thin, and then trim that down to size as well, and just lay that right in there. I'm also going to glue that in place so that all the flowers kind of stay put in our little flower stand. To cover up the foam so you don't really see that, I just add some of the reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree into the tray. Not too much, but just a good layer, and this is what it looks like so far. For the flowers, I tried to choose smaller ones, so I have these in the white and the pink. And they come in little bunches, so I thought that would be perfect for flower sales, like a little bouquet. So I just pulled those off and put those down into the floral foam. And I was going with pink, whites, and purples on this one. So I also had them in the soft pink color, just kind of scattering those around, kind of random. And then the baby's breath from the Dollar Tree always works well because these are little tiny flowers. These you have to cut, and I found them in like pink and white. And I am also going to be adding some of this like summer filler. They have like these pink berries. I thought that would be just a fun little touch in there to make some of the flowers look a little bit more wild and add some more greenery in there as well. So first I did the berries, but I like the ferns and the greenery too. So I thought that would make it look a little bit more exotic with our flowers. And so I just cut those all apart and added those to the floral foam as well. And then I also have some of the lavender from the Dollar Tree to add a couple touches of purple. I thought that would be cute. So I just cut those with my wire cutter and add those as well. I want our flower cart to be really full with spring flowers. And this is such a fun idea. A little bit different take on a planter or a tier tray or something you would have sitting around. I think that's enough. I don't think I even need the white baby's breath. It is pretty full. So this is what it looks like so far with the silver letters and the stained wood, the lightly stained wood. But I am going to distress it. I do that with some white acrylic and a makeup sponge, and I'm just going to drag that across my metal letters to paint them in a distressed fashion just because I thought it would make it a little bit easier to read, but I kind of liked the distressed look. I wanted this to look like an old flower cart. So I actually distressed all over, just using that makeup sponge, a baby wipe to blend off any of the excess. But this step is totally optional, whatever your preference is for finish. I was going for a very rustic and old looking flower cart, and I think it did add a lot of character to this project and made it look not so brand new. And this is how it turned out, our little flower cart. I think it is adorable. Let me give you a closer look of our little flower cart. So I used one easel kit, one wood tray, the wood rings, and some popsicle sticks, and a wood ruler, I guess, for the wood. I think that's all. Oh, yeah, the coffee stirrers as well. Isn't that fun? I love it. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, the next DIYs are going to be pretty easy. Check out these ceramic tiles that I found at the Crafter Square. They already have the cork on them. They're perfect coasters. I found them in square and circle shapes, and I thought these were great for crafting because they're blank. Isn't that cool? They're just like the ones that you find in the kitchen section, which you can use as well. We're going to be using cardstock and two free printables that I designed for these two coasters. And this is what they are. I designed a watercolor of a spring market and like a little spring bridge over a stream. I thought these look really well together and would be great spring coasters. I always love having seasonal coasters. So I printed mine out on cardstock, and I will include a link to the free printable for both of these. I sized them 4 inches by 4 inches, and it ended up being the perfect size. I sketched it out the first time, but it was not necessary and kind of got in the way. So if you print them out 100%, you should be able to get the perfect size for this. There's our little flower market and our flowers around a bridge. I think these images are so pretty. And so, yeah, definitely I will include a link to these. I think they would work for the circular coasters as well, if that's all that you can find or if that's what you prefer. And then I put a coat of Mod Podge on my coaster. Again, if you're just reusing the ones from the kitchen aisle, I think they're the same size. You would totally be able to get away with it if you print out on cardstock because you're not going to be able to see through this. I use Mod Podge on both and lay my paper right on top. The reason I print on cardstock is it doesn't wrinkle when you Mod Podge. You can start the drying process, which is what I did, but you really don't have to wait. And I love that. And I think it makes it more durable. I went over the top of it with more Mod Podge, and I'm just using a stencil dauber sponge from the Dollar Tree. It gives it this really great texture, and I don't get any brush strokes. Once I got that on there and dried, I just sanded the edges to make sure I didn't have any paper coming over the edges, especially the corners on these are slightly rounded, so that was very helpful for that part. And so when I continued to seal these, because I want them to be sealed really well because they are coasters, they're going to get wet. I don't have to worry about any of the paper coming over the sides. And I go over them, I think I went over them 3 times with the regular Mod Podge. And then I went over them with the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I actually found this at Dollar Tree and it makes them dishwasher safe, so waterproof. So I thought that would be even better for the top coat. And again, using the stencil dauber, you can kind of see that really cool texture and going together with the watercolor theme of these two spring coaster DIYs were just so much fun to make and so easy. So be sure to look out for these little coaster, they're not really called coaster kits. These little coaster kits at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree, but again, you could totally recreate with the ones from the kitchen section. I have done that before. But how fun is it to have a spring coaster or two? I really only need two for my like coffee table area, but I love how they turned out and I hope that you do too. For the next DIY, I wanted to take one of the beach shovels and beach rakes from the Dollar Tree and see if we can make a beautiful spring shovel and rake wreath for my wall or my door. I think I'm going to use these on a door. And I just went ahead and unscrewed the handles. I think they've changed these slightly because they used to have handles on them in the past, and these don't. They also used to not be made out of wood. These are made out of wood, which is fun if you wanted to paint or stand them. I'm going to do something a little bit different, but I definitely need to get rid of the sticky tag on it. And probably heat's the best thing on that because it is really on there. I wanted to make sure I got rid of all of that because I want to decoupage those and make those really pretty. As for the shovel and the rake, I want them to be pastel colors and I'm really feeling pink and purple together for spring this year. So I'm going to mix like a pink parfait with some white to give me a pastel pink. And I'm going to do the shovel in pink. Since it's already a hot pink color, making it light pink is really easy. I didn't have to go over it with any kind of a primer or anything like that. And I am using the combination of paintbrush to kind of some of the smaller areas and the sponge stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree. I love the texture it gets. I want them to look mottled. If you wanted to do this a little bit easier, you could get some pastel colored spray paint to spray paint these all in one coat. But I really did want that mottled appearance on these to make them look like they're made out of metal. I want them to look like painted metal almost. No rust or anything like that. I want these guys to be pretty. Now for the rake, it is orange, as you can see, and I want it to be lavender. So I thought that's going to be a harder shift in color. So the first thing I did was go over everything with white first, just kind of to act as a primer. And you are going to have to do multiple coats on these to cover up that bright colors and the plastic on there and to make sure, that it's really stuck on there well. But I'm doing the fronts and the backs just because you'll be able to kind of see them from the sides a little bit. And you want to make sure everything is the same color. I want to put these together crisscross to hang together for a wall hanging or a door wreath for spring. And I've seen so many people do these with like making them look like metal or rust or doing them for fall, but I've never really seen a bright pastel spring one done before. That's really pretty. So that's what I was going for with this one. I was thinking pink and purple flowers, garden, that kind of vibe. And so I just go over them again here with another coat of the soft pink on my pink one, and that one should be good. And then now I can go over my rake with the lavender. I just mixed a lighter purple color together with white because I was really going for pastels. I have an inspiration piece for this, which is some tissue paper that I got at the Dollar Tree that has pink and purple flowers all over too. So that was kind of my inspiration piece behind all of the colors. I want all the colors to be really soft on this project. So I think that looks really good. I definitely set those aside to make sure that the paint dried. I don't want any of those bright colors coming back through. And you could probably go in there and Mod Podge them or use a spray sealer on there if you're worried about hanging them outdoors, and if you're worried about the paint on them. This is the tissue paper that I'm going to use. Isn't this so pretty? This is just from like the party aisle at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cover the handles with these pink and purple flowers. I thought this would be perfect. So it's not going to take very much. It's definitely long enough for the wood handle. And one thing to note, they've made these a little larger this year. I had one of these from last year and I went to buy the rake this year and it was way bigger. So I had to go back and buy another shovel. And I am just going to coat the edges of our handle with Mod Podge all over. And you have to work in very thin coats with your Mod Podge. The decoupage with the tissue paper can be challenging. It's so thin. I just went ahead and laid mine on there and tried to grip it and trying to use my dry fingers. I probably should have used some plastic wrap, wadded up into a ball. I just used a paper towel and I did rip it slightly, but it's going to be on the back. So I think that it's okay. I'll be able to disguise that, but be very careful with this process. I was trying to get it smooth and try to get out any excess wrinkles. Look how pretty that is. I think it looks so vintage and fun for spring. Now, one end doesn't really matter what it's going to look like because it's going to be inside the shovel and the rake. The other one, I just trimmed it a little shorter and I decoupaged that down as well. It's so thin, it's easy to layer that there at the end. And we have one of our handles done. I'm going to do them both in this beautiful tissue paper. I love it. I love how the colors go together with how I painted the shovel and the rake. So same thing here for the other one. I don't want to use too much of the fabric, just enough. I'm going to go ahead and cut out another piece here and decoupage this one as well. Same steps. And I just have a little bit too much excess material and then I cover the whole thing, very thin coat of Mod Podge, and then roll it on. If you find that you tear it, you're going to have plenty of tissue paper. You can always redo it. When I've had that happen, if you take it to the sink quickly and you can just wash it off literally, sometimes you have to do that because decoupage definitely can be tricky when you're working with a thin material like this. But I think that looks pretty good. We can go ahead and put these together. I'm going to slide the handles in, making sure my seam and my decoupage is on the back. And then I saved the screws from before. I don't really know where the holes are on the wood at this point, but the wood is soft enough that you can just screw right into it. You don't really have to drill a hole or anything like that. And I'm going to do that with both of them. Don't they look so vintage spring garden now compared to how they looked before for the beach theme? I think it's really fun. I'm going to crisscross them like this, and I want that to be strong. So the first thing I do is go in with a zip tie. I thought that would be a strong foundation, and you're not going to be able to see it once we start decorating this little spring wreath, where the shovel and the rake are going to be hanging down below. So I zip tie it, cut off the excess material. I also am going to want a hanger right about there. So I take some twine and I feed that through there as well. And I can just tie that into a simple loop. I thought this would be a little bit challenging to hang, but it was actually pretty easy. I just knotted that and I attached that there on the zip tie that I used to hold them together. I'm also going to use some twine to tie them together. So I zip tied them. I'm also going to use twine and I just wrap that around and tie. And I'm just doing that to make this seam stronger. I don't want them falling apart and I want them to stay in position. And so I just did that 4 or 5 times and knotted it. For the ribbon, I didn't want anything too bold or crazy, so I'm going to use some of the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. The burlap always goes well with a garden theme, and I think it'll go great with these soft pastel colors. I just cut off a piece and wrapped that around where I put the zip tie and the twine, covering all of that up. At first, I did dovetail the edges, but this burlap ribbon does like to fray a little bit. So I did go back and straighten these up a little bit because I didn't like the fact that it was fraying. And then we're going to do a faux bow, really easy. I take another zip tie and I go underneath our twine like that. And then I'm going to cut out 3 loops. I'm not going to do like the twist and fold or anything like that, just 3 loops, all the same size. That way I can have them kind of jutting out in every direction independently. It's going to make it easier to mold and put together. When I make a loop, I just slightly overlap the end-to-end burlap. And then I just put them together, the first 2 like an X, and the next one kind of going the other direction like that, where they're all 3 stacked on top of each other. I just sit that on top of the ribbon and use that zip tie that I had put down there to secure them all together. The zip tie is not real noticeable when you go to shape your burlap ribbon, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fluff up my little bow here, and I think that's going to be perfect. Now I want to hang a bag of seeds down from my wreath form, so I'm going to use some of these treat sacks from the Dollar Tree. These are the burlap bags. This one has a polka dot on it, which is kind of cute. I just removed the tag there from it, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to use the polka dot side. I want you to be able to read it. I want to spell out the word seeds on it, so I decided just to use the plain burlap back for mine. I'm going to use these stampers that I got at Dollar General with some Dollar Tree ink pads, and we're just going to stamp out seeds on this. And I think I might need a new ink pad because either that or this material didn't really want to take it too much because it wasn't real obvious when I was stamping on these, but I'll show you how I go about fixing it. But I love these little stampers that I got at Dollar General. I've used them for crafting a lot. They are great for rustic projects like this. To fix it, I took a black Sharpie and I just started dotting around everywhere where it's stamped because that's going to look like black ink, right? And I did that twice. I went over them twice, and now it's just a little bit easier to read. I also want it to look like a dirty bag of seeds. So I want it to look full. I use a little bit of polyfill from the Dollar Tree to start stuffing it. And I was trying to decide how to make it look dirty. I know you can do this with coffee grounds pretty easily, just working that in the burlap. But I didn't really want to go find any coffee, so I wanted to see if I could do it with just some brown paint. So I used one of those chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree, a little bit of this like chocolate brown paint, and just kind of went all over. If I have an area that got maybe a little bit too much, I went over it with a baby wipe and tried to blend that into the burlap. And I think I definitely did get the dirty burlap seed bag look without having to use the coffee, but you could use that too. I've done that before. It works really well. I added a little bit more polyfill, and then I wanted to look like the seeds are actually sprouting out of the bag. So to do that, I got some greenery from the Dollar Tree, and I just went ahead and added that to the bag, cinching it here at the top. Isn't that fun? I thought this would be fun because I can hang this down from the bow, something that's going to kind of hang down in front of the shovel and the rake, and just add another feature to this project. Now, the little handles on there were not quite long enough to be able to just wrap it around the bow like that. So what I'm going to do is just tie that off and use some extra twine to tie that to make sure it hangs down right where I want it to. So I take some more twine and I'm just going to wrap this around our little seed bundle here, tying that off. Now that greenery that I used there is pretty bright. You're going to see me change it here in a minute just because I thought it's fun for spring that it's a bright green, but I thought it was a little too bright considering all the pastel colors that I used on this project. But I switched it out for something really similar. I just tied that around my big bow here at the top where it will hang down in front. And then I cut my dovetails off here because I noticed they were slightly fraying a bit. These are the flowers that I'm going to use from the Dollar Tree. I think they're so pretty. I think they're the camellia flowers, and they are these soft pinks and whites. I thought the colors were perfect, and the kind of flower was perfect. So I just take those off and start hot gluing those all around the bow. Kind of anywhere where there was an opening in the bow that needed something, I just added a flower to that. But I'm trying not to take away from the hanging seeds down there too much as well, but I definitely wanted some florals. I also glued the back of my bag here just to make it a little bit skinnier in the back so you can't see the polka dots on my bag there because it looks a little bit different. And another flower. This is the greenery that I was talking about. I did have another greenery from the Dollar Tree that was slightly a softer green. And once I was finished, my personal preference was just to switch that out. So that's what I did. It's just like a little eucalyptus, I guess, and eucalyptus stem. And I just replaced that. And I like the colors on that one better with my soft pinks and my soft purples. Let me show you how my little rake and shovel wreath turned out. I've always wanted to make one of these and I just love it. It just screams spring. I love all the flowers. Isn't this so cute? I think this will look great. I think I'm going to hang it on my garage door because I already have a great spring wreath for my front door and my back door. So I think it would be a great wall hanging as well, though, too. But I think it was really fun. Okay, the next project, I wanted to challenge myself to see if I can make a porch swing plant holder. So I picked up 3 of the little pallet signs from the Dollar Tree and 2 of the pallet signs like this, right? I thought those could be the back of my porch swing, and the little pallets that are a little thicker there, those little square ones, can be the seat of my porch swing. And I do want it to recline as well. So I'm going to do a couple things to it to give it a little bit more character. One thing is I want my boards to be spaced out evenly like this. And I do need to connect them together. So I'm going to do that with a jenga block from the Dollar Tree. I spaced them out so the wood panels are separate like they are all the way across. That's just going to make it look, I think, a little bit better. And for the top, instead of using a Jenga block, I actually used a Dollar Tree popsicle stick to glue that part together. And the reason why is because I want the back to be slanted back, like kind of in a reclining position. I think that's going to give it more character. And so I want the bottom to be kicked out from the wall a little bit. Now for the seat, I just went ahead and glued them end to end, making sure all my lines are kind of going the same direction. I think that's going to look better. To reinforce this one, I'm going to use a popsicle stick here on the back as well. And I think this is just going to make it stronger because it's going to be holding some ceramic pots from the Dollar Tree. I want it to be really strong. I just used hot glue there to attach that, and then this is thick. I can also use my staple gun to reinforce that as well. So we have the back panel and we have the seat to our porch swing. And now it's a challenge of trying to put it all together. I'm going to use one of the wood dowels from the Dollar Tree and glue that here to the back. This is going to allow me to be able to attach it in a reclining position, and it actually worked out pretty well. I made sure to reinforce that with some more hot glue, and then I can sit this on there like this where it can slightly sit back, but that the seat will be level, which will hold my flower pots. I did notice that I needed a couple more of the Jenga blocks, so I loaded up 2 more to kick this out from the wall so that it will go back like that in the reclining position, which is exactly what I want. And now it's just a matter of putting this together. I was trying to decide which position would be the best to attach this, and I think laying down the back like this works the best, and adding hot glue to the wood dowel. And that's just going to act as a spacer there. It's going to help me attach the 2 pieces together. If you were going to go straight up with your back, it would be easier because you wouldn't have to worry about the reclining. But I think it did give it more character to make the back reclining, make it look relaxing like that. I just attached mine with hot glue, and this is what we have so far for a little porch swing. Those 3 Jenga blocks kind of jutting out there in the back, pushing it away from the wall. Then I take my 3rd piece and I just cut off the sides with my saw. You could use just Jenga blocks if you don't have access to a saw to build up the little armrest for your porch swing. But I thought these are the perfect size because they kind of coordinate with what I already used for the seats. But I am going to use wood Jenga blocks to put it together. So I just cut off the end parts. I flipped it over, and then I'm going to attach one of the wood Jenga blocks on each side to make little legs so it looks like this. They kind of stick out a tiny bit, but it's not real noticeable. And then I can attach that to this part of the seat, and it's going to make the perfect little armrest for a porch swing. And it works well with the reclining back too, because I don't have to worry about attaching it to that part. I attached it just like that. That's what it looks like so far. And I love creating little projects like this. I've done like picnic tables and different things. I've done a porch swing before with the easel kits, but this is a different design. I do love how it turned out. I am going to do the same thing here on the other side. I just glued 2 Jenga blocks on to that wood piece and glued that to my swing. These are the pots we're going to be putting on it. These are like I guess the larger of the 2 terracotta plants from the Dollar Tree, and they fit on here perfectly. If you're worried that they might fall off, you could always use like a wood ruler here in the front and make a little front to your shelf. But I'm going to hot glue mine down, so I didn't do that. I didn't want to have to add that if I didn't need to. But that is an option for you. Now to hang it, I did think about using the wire chains from the Dollar Tree, but they're a little bit too large scale for this project. So I'm just going to use twine, and it actually worked perfectly. I tie it to that bottom rung of that like little pallet coaster, come up like that, and then I want it to come down in the front like that. So I wanted to see how long I need it to be. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut a second piece of twine for the other side. And so I went ahead and did that too. So I'm going to do the same thing. I feed it around this bottom section, tying that off just like that, where it can come up and be a hanger for our porch swing. And I think the twine looks good too. I think it kind of matches the vibe of it. I decided not to paint my porch swing or stain it. I'm going to leave it raw wood like this. I think it will hold up better outside. We will see, but you could always paint or stain yours. I did the same thing here on the other side, just tying the twine. This time I had to make sure that I'm going to tie it where it's level. So I did have to test it before I knotted my last string to see about exactly where I need it to be. I'm going to tighten this a little bit more and then just double knotting the twine. And now I have 2 hangers that I think are going to work well if I connect those together to hold our little porch swing plant hanger. I do want to make sure they stay in place, so I did add a little hot glue onto the twine just so they won't slide around front to back. And it's a great hanger. It's pretty hidden here on the bottom of the project, and it seems to work perfectly. Just like this, I go around the little arm holders and put it together like that, where with the kickback on the wall, it just hangs perfectly. And I have a whole bunch of these metal rings. These come with the wood shelf kits from the Dollar Tree, and I never use them, but I saved them in case I ever needed them. Worked perfectly for this. I just used some pliers to open that up, and I strung my 2 twine together with that ring, and that serves as a hanger too. For the flower pots, I told you I was just going to attach mine with hot glue to make sure they stay on the shelf. I thought that would be the most durable way to do that. You could use a stronger glue if you're going to be using yours outside a lot too. And then I wanted to stick with the pink and purple flower theme, and I wanted to be able to switch it out with different flowers too. So to fill it up, I want it to be lightweight since it's a hanging plant holder. I just used some of the floral moss from the Dollar Tree. And then I found these great daisies from the Dollar Tree in pinks and purples with yellow centers. I think they are so bright and fun for spring. And I'm going to have enough room for about 3 in each one of my little mini flower pots here. These do like to bend a little bit. A pro tip for that is to use your heat gun or a blow dryer. It makes them look so much better and fluffed out, as you can see there. And I'm going to do that with my pink ones as well. My favorite thing about this project is I can just swap out the flowers. I could use this for any season. And Dollar Tree always has great florals, so looking forward to using this one. I think I'm going to actually put this out in my Florida room, and I think it's so fun. It definitely goes with the vibe out there, and I love the spring colors. I did 1 pot of the lavender and 1 pot of the pink flowers, and let me show you how my little porch swing plant holder turned out. It's just like I envisioned. I was really happy with this project. It did require a little bit of thinking to be able to get that reclining to work and to make a stable piece. But using those Jenga blocks pushes that part of it out from the wall and keeps that reclining position while my chair, the seat, remains level to hold my flower pots. Isn't that fun? I love it. For the next DIY, I'm going to take one of these 11 by 14 wood photo frames from the Dollar Tree. I was really excited to find these at my Dollar Tree the other day. This is a really nice large frame for $1.25. I'm not going to need the glass or anything like that. I just want the wood frame. It could have been a little bit sturdier. As you can see, it's pretty thin, but I liked the size of it. I saw this great project on Pinterest. Let me find out who did the original DIY. It looks like it was done by the Shabby Tree. I think that's a crafting blog, but it is a basket wreath using a frame and rope. So I wanted to see if I could make a Dollar Tree version. I believed they used a strong rope and a 16 by 20 canvas or something like that for theirs. But I thought I would give it a go with one of the Dollar Tree wood frames. The size is really big, so I think this will work. I'm going to start right here and attach it with some hot glue and twine. And I did put mine together a little different than she did, but pretty similar. I think after making my project and looking at their blog, it looks like they started at the very bottom. I started on the handle first. So I started about halfway up. I just attached it to the back with some hot glue and staples just to reinforce that. And I'm simply wrapping this around. I thought the thinner wood frame would be perfect for this because I could have a thinner handle for my basket wreath and it wouldn't take quite as much rope for this project. Getting to the corners was a little bit tricky. And so what I did was I kind of started and then going in the reverse direction, trying to overlap the corners a little bit. And that seemed to work because this part was a little bit tricky to deal with to try to cover that on that tight corner. So I kept kind of working in a reverse direction until I filled up the entire corner. And since that kind of works out like that, I'm just going to cut it and attach it here in the corner and then just start again. I just found that was the easiest way to do the corner on it. It was, again, a little bit challenging when you got to that part. But I think I was able to do a pretty good job. So basically, the top of the frame is going to be the handle for the basket for a basket wreath. And then the bottom is going to be all rope to hold our flowers. And this held so many spring florals. I love it. This is a great wreath for your door. I just started my next package of rope. So this is package number 2. I did not count these, so we'll have to count as we go along here. And I'm going to keep wrapping this on the top of the handle. This is the thinner rope from the Dollar Tree. They don't have the measurements on them anymore, which is kind of weird because that's how I always kind of pulled them apart. I noticed that the coasters that I crafted with too didn't have measurements either. So I'm like, why are we not telling people measurements anymore, Dollar Tree? Come on. When I got to the corner, I'm going to do the same thing where I kind of push it out and then start reverse coming back towards the corner, if that makes any sense, because that seemed to work pretty well on the other corner until I have enough rope to completely cover that. And again, just going to have some scrap material here. It just seemed to work out better for me that way. Attaching my ends with hot glue. And now we're on to package number 3 of this rope. And we've almost got the handle completely covered. I just started with hot glue and a staple just because I thought that would make it a little bit stronger. You could probably get away with just hot glue. And I'm going to go down until I am about halfway across from where I started. Then I'm going to go all the way across. And I did a staple there for a little bit of stability. And then you're going to simply start wrapping your frame like this. I wanted to make sure that all of my seams were on the back so I didn't have any ugly starts and stops to the rope on the front of my basket wreath. And so I stopped right there at the side and then I'll start a new piece. If I were to make this basket wreath project again, I would probably add burlap for this bottom part first, wrap the entire thing in burlap, and then do the rope over the top. I didn't do that because I thought it would be excess craft material and I didn't really want to waste that. But you know what? It would have been easier for this part, kind of gluing the ropes together so you don't have like holes in between them. I noticed there was some gapping happening and I didn't want that to happen between the ropes. I didn't want you to be able to see through it. And I'm still counting. This is package number 5. Since this is such a large basket wreath, I knew it was going to take a lot of rope. So I just made sure that I had a lot in my stash that I could use to make sure it's all done with the same kind of rope. When I start and stop on the bottom, I'm able to just glue that to each other. And again, trying to keep that as tight as I can. Going in here with package number 6. As you can see, this is making a big pocket here where you're going to be able to add all your florals down in there. And it looks like a basket, right? A basket with a handle. So super cute. I think this would be really fun for Easter as well. So this is package number 7. I might be pulling it a little too tight. As you can see, it does bow in a little bit. The Dollar Tree frame is not super strong. but I kind of liked the effect, so I kind of kept going with it. And as you can see, when you get down here to the bottom, it's just going to take a lot of rope because you're going all the way around. This is package number 8, and I'm coming down here to the very bottom seam. I do want to make sure that I cover up all of the rope. So it looks like nine packages of rope. So that will be handy if you're going to make yours with the same exact size wood frame from the Dollar Tree. And I do want to kind of overlap down here and form a bottom, basically covering up all of the wood from the frame, but you still have that great structure. In my inspiration piece, it looked like they used a canvas, so it was probably a stronger wood, but I think this worked really well for a Dollar Tree version. Again, I didn't really like the openings in between them, so I tried to glue them together. Anywhere I noticed a big gap with a little bit of hot glue, but that just took a little bit of extra work. I think if I would have put burlap down first and wrapped that part of the basket wreath first, I could have just glued down to the burlap, and the burlap would have held it together, but it would also kind of hide the gaps in between the rope. And then I went over everything with my lighter to burn off any of the fuzzies. As you can see, it is a large basket wreath, and I think it looks really good. I love using Dollar Tree rope for projects. I think the brown rope is a great, like, neutral color. You could really use this for any season. And then to fill it up, I'm going to use some Spanish moss. I've been having trouble finding this at my Dollar Tree lately, so I had to get some at Walmart. But I thought that would be a great filler. It's going to be lightweight. It's going to be something that's going to be decorative, but hold all of my flowers and fill this pocket up with that Spanish moss, just like that. For the flowers, I wanted this to be overflowing with spring flowers. So I'm going to do a combination of pinks and purples. I love these flowers from the Dollar Tree. They're like a droopy flower, but they're only like partially droopy. I wanted mine to be like completely hanging flowers to go down the front part of my basket wreath. And so I got a couple packages of these. I just cut them into individual pieces. And let me show you how I made them a little bit droopier. I've worked with these before, so I know they kind of like to droop down, but they stick out. I wanted mine to go straight down and not stick out from the wreath. And so what I did is I took some wire. This is just some hardware wire from the Dollar Tree. You could also use some floral wire for this. And I just bent it. So it's still on the wire that I can put down inside the basket wreath to hold it. But then I just wired it where it is bent here at the top, if that makes sense. And if I have a piece long enough, I will just continue that on to the next one. I want these to go all the way across, and I'm just going to scatter these out. I want like all of my pink flowers. I got lots of different kinds to be coming out at the top of the basket underneath the handle, but I thought it'd be really pretty if all these purple ones just kind of drooped down. So again, just doing the wire just to bend those, and that worked perfectly to give the look that I was looking for. Because again, they droop, but they just kind of droop out. They're strong enough not to go down. And so I did that all the way across with those two bundles. I've used these, they come in pink and purple. I've used them for some of my ladder plant stands, and they looked so pretty drooping over the sides of those as well. I love the pinks and purples this year. So again, I just kind of wire them to each other, bend them. I think that looks really good, and nothing permanent. So I'll be able to remove those and change those out with other flowers. For the flowers, I chose like coordinating colors. So camellia, dahlia, I think we got even some roses here. A lot of them are really similar colors, and I thought we could make these work. They're a nice size flower too. So this one I kind of had just a scrap one flower left, and I'm going to use that one. This one, I want this part of the flowers to be really tall, so I'm just going to leave this one attached to the stem itself. So it'll be nice and tall, fitting down into our basket, just kind of bending them a little bit so they'll face towards the front a little bit. And I did have to trim it down just a little bit because it was a little bit too tall, and just put that down into my Spanish moss into my little basket wreath. And again, these look really similar, but like this is a different one. I don't know, maybe they're just creative with their names for the flowers, but I cut these into individual pieces so they would be a little bit shorter. But as you can see, they have that same pink, white, and yellow color scheme. And then this one does too, but this one has like a little bit more of the pink and the coral in it. And I wanted all different kinds of pink flowers to all coordinate together, but kind of contrast a little bit against the purple. I kind of like having the pink and the purple mixed together. And I'm sure you could get really creative. The Dollar Tree florals this year for spring are the prettiest that I've ever seen. I keep complimenting them. It's the only compliment they're getting since I don't have any shore living this year. And I know they're tired of hearing me complain. But I finish it off with these camellias. These are some of my favorites. They're so pretty. Just scattering those around, making it look really random and overflowing with flowers for spring. This is how it turned out. You can hang it like on a wreath hanger or on the wall. The rope will just hang on a nail like that without even having to make a hanger or anything like that. And here it is, our rope basket wreath. So thank you to the Shabby Tree for the inspiration piece. I love trying to recreate it with items from the Dollar Tree. I think it turned out really pretty and was such a great idea. Now for the next spring DIY, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree wood frames and one of their burlap canvases. I love these burlap canvases. I've been having trouble finding them lately at my Dollar Trees. Have you guys been finding them in your stores? They're so much better than the regular canvases. I want them to have them all the time. But I guess you could always recreate yours with a canvas and some burlap if you can find some burlap from the Dollar Tree. And I just want the wood frame. The wood frame is the strongest frame from the Dollar Tree that I work with. So it works great when you're adding a canvas to it because the corners are not going to gap like the plastic ones did. I just removed the glass, all the staples, added a little hot glue on the inside of the frame here, and just laid my burlap canvas right inside. I'm going to leave the back open like that. I can always use that canvas to do the hanging part without having a hanger on there. I want to create some burlap flowers on here using my own DIY burlap flowers and also some of the Dollar Tree ones. For the vase, I found these great little soap bags from the Dollar Tree. These were the bathroom section, and I really bought them for the netted one on the left there because I think that's going to make a perfect fishing net for coastal crafting. But I thought this back soap holder would make a perfect little vase for my burlap flowers. So I just tied that there at the top. I guess you're supposed to put like a bar of soap in there. And I'm going to attach it here to my burlap canvas. I love the contrast of the ivory and the burlap together. I think it looks really cute and very kind of rustic spring with the burlap flower idea. I just attached it, leaving the bag open, but gluing the back of the bag to the burlap canvas like that. Trying to go around the edges too so it doesn't gap out too much. And then I am going to use a little polyfill just to give it a little bit more volume. And you can kind of see through the holes a little bit there too. So I think that's going to work well to just stuff it slightly. For the flowers, I'm going to DIY some, and I wanted to start simple. I've never made burlap flowers before. I know there's a million different patterns, but we're going to start easy because it's the first time I made burlap flowers. So I designed just this printable flower, and I will include a link to this if you want to recreate these same burlap flowers. And I just printed that out on regular paper. For the burlap, I'm going to use the burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. These are usually in my crafter square at my store, but they are great burlap for crafting because they're coated with plastic on the back. They're a faux burlap. They don't fray. Perfect for something like this. So I just used my little flower stencil and a Sharpie, sketched that out on the plastic backing of my burlap bag. Probably have to change the color. I was trying not to do anything too noticeable, but I really couldn't see that mint green. So I'm going to do it with like a brown Sharpie. And I think I'm going to DIY about 5 of them. I'm going to combine them with the burlap flowers from the Dollar Tree, which come in so many different shapes and sizes. They're usually burlap or ivory. And so the ones I'm going to DIY here, I'm going to paint the burlap. So there'll be some fun spring colors. I sketched out 5 on the back here, and this stuff cuts so easily, as you can see, and look, no fraying at all. I also thought the plastic would be easier to melt a little bit if I wanted them to warp a little bit, give me a little bit of texture since I'm not doing any of the fancy burlap flower designs. I did look to see how you make burlap flowers, and I was a little overwhelmed with how many different ways there are to make them. And I really don't like sewing, so I was trying not to do a sewing version. So we're just going to keep it really easy with a 5-leaf flower. And again, I will include the printable if you want to use that as a template as well. I just cut them all down. I thought that I could paint them like 2 different colors. And since we're doing a lot of pink and purple today, I'm going to kind of stick with those colors. I'm using a sponge stencil dauber from the Dollar Tree. I use these things all the time. They're my favorite paintbrushes from the Dollar Tree nowadays. And I am going to go over 3 of them in pink and 2 of them in that like soft purple color. And I want to make sure that the sponge works great because I don't want to get too much paint in there to block the burlap look. I still want you to be able to tell that they are made out of burlap. And 1 coat, I think, is all I need on that. Covered the burlap brown very well. And I just gave them a quick dry. And I did notice they did want to warp a little bit with heat, which is good. They do flatten out a little bit more than I would like though. But for the center, I'm going to use twine, and I just did a circle of hot glue in the center of my flower. And I tried both ways, working from the outside in and the inside out with the center of my flowers. I think I liked working that way. Outside in seemed to work a little bit better to create the center of our flower. It's a fun rustic touch. Other ideas is you could use buttons if you like that look for the center of your flower, or like the little wood slices from the Dollar Tree that are circular. I think those would be cute as well. Or you could even take a button and cover it with burlap. It kind of looks like that's what they've done with the Dollar Tree flowers that I'm going to be using on this project as well. But I'm going to do that with all 5 of my flowers, just creating little twine centers. Very easy and so much fun. So I'm going to combine 5 of my own DIY burlap flowers with a couple of the Dollar Tree ones as well. And I do want them to have stems. I thought the wire jute from the Dollar Tree would be perfect for the stems. The only thing is, I hate cutting this stuff, but I found that if you add a little masking tape and use some wire cutters, you're much more likely to get a good cut without the twine coming off of the wire. That's kind of my pet peeve with this stuff. And I went ahead and cut 5 of these. Kind of forgot that I was doing more flowers, but I'm going to have to add a couple more to these in a minute when I add a few more flowers. I just removed the tape and then hot glued those onto the back of my flowers here. And as you can see, the more that I've added like heat to those flowers, they have curled up a little bit, but I noticed that when I would do that, they would curl up and then they would kind of flatten back out. Right now, I think I've melted the plastic a little bit because they do have a little bit of a curl, which I like because I think that adds more fun to the flower to make them warp a little bit like that. And we can start adding our little flowers into our little vase that is made out of a soap bag. You never know where you're going to find crafting supplies from the Dollar Tree, that's for sure. So I add my pink and purple flowers kind of in a random pattern like that. I want this project to be really fun and really like 3D vibe. And I think it turned out really cute so far. I went ahead and added a little bit more of the polyfill to fill out my bag. And then I glued it shut. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was going to add Dollar Tree flowers to this as well. I don't know what I was thinking, but I wish I hadn't done that. But I filled it out right there with it. And again, hitting those flowers with a little bit more heat to try to make them curl a little bit was my strategy. I don't want them to curl too much, just a little bit. And then add my flowers. These are the flowers that I was talking about from the Dollar Tree. I have like 6 or 7 different kinds of these. I think that the ivory ones are going to look better because they're going to match like the bag that we used. So I'm going to add a couple of those, and it'll add a little variety with like a different kind of flower. So I think 2 of those. So I do have to make 2 more of the flower stems here with the wired jute, and then try my best to add these to the vase because I already sealed it up. I don't know what I was thinking. They also have the burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree sometimes as well, and I do have some of those. So I thought I would add a few of those to my flowers as well, just to brighten it up. But I don't think I have a lot of room for the leaves. That's something you could DIY really easily, though. It's just a simple leaf shape, especially if you were using like the faux burlap like we used for the flowers. I love that combination. These are the ones I'm going to use, the small ivory ones. Aren't these so cute? And again, I got all of those at the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. It looks like the flower ones were almost more of a fall theme, but I think they go well with these spring flowers. And then I am just going to add one to the left one to this one, and maybe one over here on the right, just kind of balance things out. I want it to be overflowing with flowers, kind of going over the sides of my burlap. But so many fun textures with this soap bag, the burlap behind it. I think it's so fun. And then I'm going to tie it all off with some twine. I just fed some twine around the rope bag and tied it here at the top. I'm just going to knot it to cinch it and then use that excess twine just to tie a simple little sweet bow that can hang down from the front. Such a sweet, whimsical spring DIY. I really love it. It really screams spring, especially with like the bright pink and purple flowers added to it. But I love the idea of little burlap flowers on a burlap canvas. And the wood frame is just very neutral and blends in well with this project. Isn't that so cute? I love how this turned out. I had a picture of this in my mind, but I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to pull it off. Next time, I might try to challenge myself with some more difficult flowers because those definitely weren't. But I think they turned out really pretty. And how cool are those soap bags? I didn't know if I was going to be able to use that one as well as the ones with the mesh netting. The mesh netting ones I'm really excited to use for coastal crafting. And I've had some of you guys in my comments asking me to still do coastal crafting without shore living, and I totally am. I've already put out 3 videos, so stay tuned for more of those. Please let me know which spring DIY was your favorite down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And please check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, if you like watching individual DIYs kind of on your phone. And you know what? I'm going to do horizontal on there now so you can also watch them on the TV. Enjoy the final reveal.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care in the world. I was one rich little girl, daydreamer, kidnap me, take me back, all the way back to them days, running around in a gown and a crown, barefoot. No mistake ever kept me late. We spent summers catching fireflies and winters on our skates. One big smile across my face. We used to dance our way to church on Sundays. Mama set the pace. Daydreamer, kidnap me, take me back, all the way back to them days.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. That helps so much. And a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brult, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, and Powell Puppy Life. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. It helps a lot being a smaller YouTuber. And if you would like to become a Crafty Beach member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name, and a shout out in every video. And I really appreciate it. I'd also love to see what you've been crafting. Our Facebook private group is really growing. Check it out in the description of today's video and show off your DIYs. We would love to see it. You guys are so creative. And if you would like more spring crafting inspiration, be sure to check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, thank you for watching and happy crafting.